Right, this video is about artificial intelligence. This is one of the fields that I believe is going to be very significant to us in the future. In fact, I believe that we are going through right now a pretty significant changing of the way that the world works in terms of artificial intelligence. We're just really a couple years into what could be, I mean, we don't really know how long this transformation will last, or even if it's, real or not. I think it is. But yeah, I mean, so we'll see, I guess. This is maybe one of the most biggest things that we'll be seeing or facing in the next couple of decades. Anyways, let's look a little more closely into artificial intelligence so that we can understand a little better how our world may change. So first of all, things are changing extremely quickly in this area. I've been teaching this course now for 3-ish years, and every single year I have to make a new video on this because things are just changing that fast. And whatever I say in this video, there's a good chance that it's going to be out of date by next year, and I'll be making another one of these for next year's CLE class. But we'll see what's happening as we look a little more closely into it. So large language models, also called LLMs, are the most significant thing that we've seen so far. So ChatGPT, most of you are probably aware of ChatGPT. ChatGPT has been out for a while, and I have been aware of it for several years now. But in fall of 2022 is when ChatGPT 3.5 came out, and it was a significant change in the way that it can understand the things that in the way that it can generate text and the way that it can understand our prompts. So right now we're up to ChatGPT 4.0. I believe you have to pay to get that one, or maybe you get a few free queries on this one before the free version. They kick you back to ChatGPT 3.5. That's not the only LLM out there. There's a whole bunch of other ones. Claude, Grok, Llama. Yeah, like there's a lot. Llama is the Facebook one, and Grok that's the Elon Musk one, I believe. Yeah, so there's a bunch of them out there, and they all work. They all kind of do similar things and work in a similar ways. These LLMs can create pretty sophisticated text based on prompts. We're going to look a little bit more into how to use these prompts in a workshop that we'll do later on in the course. But some of you probably have already tried it. Some of you might be trying to submit homework based on getting LLM to write an essay or something like that. I would caution you to avoid doing that if you can, because the whole point of you being in school is for you to learn something. And if you just ask ChatGPT to basically do the work for you, you're not learning a whole lot. But in like the working world, people who are trying to be productive and get stuff done, like they are using it for like similar kind of things, like write me a document of some kind. It's a little bit different for them because they're trying to get work done. They're not trying to learn how to do stuff. So yeah, just a caution for you that if you are pursuing the route of asking ChatGPT to do all your homework, you're really kind of defeating the point. That goes for this course too. I don't particularly want you to use ChatGPT to do your homework unless I specifically tell you that you should, and I may for some things. So ChatGPT is it's good at some things and not great at other things. In some ways it is, quote unquote, smarter or better at things than humans, but in other ways, not yet. So you could tell ChatGPT, okay, write me an essay on like basically any topic, and it'll do a pretty good job if it knows the context, right? Like if you're doing a novel study in English class, for example, and it's on like a pretty well-known work, it might be able to do a good job because there's lots of previous examples that it has, that it's been trained on. We'll get into that in a minute. But if it's like some obscure text, it has not, read it or been trained on it before, and so it may not do a great job. So something to be aware of. Um, so yeah, I talked a little bit about the uses already, but yeah, like people I know who are working in like businesses and stuff like that, they are in fact using ChatGPT to, oh, okay, here's the email I got from my business partner or something. Draft a reply that I can send back to him. Stuff like that. So first draft of emails or documents or whatever. So they are using it for that. And so rather than those people spending an hour writing this email, they can get ChatGPT, like they have to prompt it like with the details. But maybe that takes 5 or 10 minutes, and then ChatGPT will spit out an email. Now they're going to read it first, and there may be changes that they need to do. But the bulk of the work is done. So rather than say taking an hour, maybe it's half as long, or even, a third as long, or something like that. So it's saving them time for sure. I like to use ChatGPT for idea generation. If I can't think of, like, say, I'm trying to prepare a lesson about some topic, and I'm trying to figure out a creative way to do that, I can ask ChatGPT, hey, give me 20 creative ideas how I can teach a lesson about, something, and it will spit out 20 ideas. Not all of them are going to be good ideas. So again, that's where the human has to come in and say, yeah, that one's bad, 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 and maybe most of them are bad. But maybe there's those good ones that you wouldn't have thought of otherwise that you can then use. ChatGPT doesn't do a great job of having like common sense, which is why you do need a human in the loop to kind of make sure that everything is as it should be. We want to use ChatGPT to do things that humans already know how to do, but it's a part of their job that is kind of like they spend a lot of time on it, but if they can save the time, then that's very useful. That's kind of the use case where I'm seeing people start to use ChatGPT and other LLMs. All right, other kinds of content generation are also out there, not just text. So we're talking about video generation, image generation, music generation, anything that can be represented digitally can be generated digitally. And there also has to be sufficient training data for it to be generated. In other words, there has to be other similar stuff that they can be trained on, and then they can produce things that are like that. So there's a lot of artists, for example, and they feed like all of their artwork into the training, and then that LLM can then produce other things in that style. So that's what we're talking about. That's what some artists are trying to kind of lean in to the whole AI thing by doing stuff like that. Getting a little bit into the nuts and bolts of how it actually works. They're called neural nets, and basically what it is weighted probability. So, it's trying to predict, for example, the next word. We've seen it on our, Google search. It's trying to predict your next word, or your cell phone texting someone. It will offer you, okay, do you want to, is this the word that you're trying to type, and you can press tab to accept it, or whatever, right? This is kind of like the same thing. It's trying to predict the next word in that sequence, in that sentence, but doing it on kind of a massive scale. And so, there'll be a sentence. Say the sentence is, I don't know. Let's go eat a hamburger. Now, if I write let's, then it'll say, okay, there's like a 90% chance that the next word that he wants is go. And then there's a 10% chance that the next word he wants is, I don't know, something else, right? So it'll say, okay, 90% chance, let's go with that. And so they'll say the next one, or they'll say go, right? So now we have the sentence, let's go. Okay, so now what's the likely next word? Maybe it's a 60% chance that, that the next word will be eat, right? And so that's kind of what's happening behind the scenes. But the key part here is we don't know exactly what's happening. I mean, we know theoretically what's happening, but we don't know specifically what's happening. And so, basically you're feeding millions and millions of words or pictures or whatever into this giant program. And then the program is doing something inside to create these weights. Like, what makes it like 90% likely instead of 89 or 87 or 86? We don't really know, actually. And so we can't really predict what it's going to spit out. And so that part is, has some people a little bit concerned about how these AIs are working. Because it's kind of like a black box, like stuff goes in and something comes out, but we don't really understand how the sausage is being made, essentially. Anyways, I don't want to get too into the weeds. Just wanted to give you kind of a surface level understanding of what is kind of happening underneath the hood. Other things going on with AI, self-driving cars have been, people have been talking about self-driving cars and working on self-driving cars for quite a few years now. Elon Musk and Tesla were, famously trying to get it going, and he keeps on saying, yes, we're like 1 or 2 years away, but he's been saying that since like 2016 or 17, and they still haven't done it. But there are some companies who are using it already, most notably Waymo. Waymo is a subsidiary of Alphabet, which is Google's company. So basically, Waymo is Google, essentially Google's self-driving car company. They've partnered with Uber, and they are now offering service in certain American cities. So you can go. Phoenix is the first one that is currently deployed, and I believe they're rolling out. Maybe already have rolled out some, over the last few months. But yeah, you can go to Phoenix, order at Uber, and they will ask you, do you want a self-driving Uber? And you can say yes or no. And if you say yes, then a car will come out with no driver, and you just get in, and it'll take you where you want to go. So that is already happening in certain cities, and they're starting to roll it out into more and more cities. This is one of the things that's going to be out of date in 6 months. It'll probably be in most major cities in America, and who knows when it will come to Canada, hopefully soon. Can't wait to get in one and try it out. China already has also deployed some self-driving cars, and in particular buses. Buses are, a simpler case because buses follow a fixed route, right? So they're on the same route every single time. They're just doing kind of a loop, right? And so, the self-driving companies can map out that route very specifically, every centimeter, every inch of that route, and, have, know what to do in every situation. So it's a simpler case in some ways. And I'm not sure why, I think it's because of the way that yeah, I think it makes sense to deploy it in buses first, I guess. Anyways, yeah, like self-driving cars, Waymo. I have a friend that works at Waymo, and um, yeah, according to like data that they've like studied and stuff, um, the self-driving cars are already safer than human drivers in most cases. Human drivers are not great, to be honest. They make mistakes, they fall asleep, they get drunk. So yeah, I mean, a lot of them are like there's a lot of car crashes, car accidents that happen, and self the computer obviously is never falling asleep and it's never getting drunk. So it's just those certain situations that come up that are unexpected, but already safer than human drivers in most cases. But and I think we'll see more and more self-driving in future. So this is just getting started, and it's going to be pretty big. So, what does this all mean for the job market and your future? Well, we don't know. Like I said, this has all happened in the last 2 years. This whole field has been completely changed. And 2 years from now, who knows what's going to happen? But a few things that we can say right now. Currently, anything that's computer or text based is seeing big changes. And so we're talking about artists, coders, writers. So a lot of their work is being changed. Can they find a way to work with AI to produce better products or more in the same amount of time or something? Or are they going to be replaced? We don't know. We don't know. Drivers, I think, are going to be replaced, right? For things like transit, like the driver is most of the cost of that service. If you can have no driver that you have to pay for, those things become much cheaper. So I think, and so think of all the drivers out there, right? Kind of long haul truckers, taxi. We're talking about delivery drivers. We're talking about yeah, so many different people are driving for a living. And I'm not saying that those will be gone overnight, but 10 years from now, 20 years from now, I just don't see a lot of those jobs probably being around still. Other kind of things, robots I haven't even talked about yet. Those kind of physical manufacturing type jobs, going into mines, all those kind of dangerous, tedious kind of jobs. They can be done with robots. Robots, of course, have been already, in manufacturing plants and being used. And I think that's just going to be more. What are you going to see? Like you look at self-checkout in the retail, right? And so how many, store clerks are we going to need, or cashiers, right? So those kind of things, what's going to happen, we don't know yet. Those aren't changing as quickly, but, eventually I think we will see changes in that area. Things that I think will take a little longer or maybe not go away at all are jobs where you're looking for human interaction. So we're talking about people who are working with elderly, people who are working with children, people who are working in hospitals, things where you're looking for human interaction, human contact. I think those will be around for a little while yet. So that's all for artificial intelligence. We'll see what happens. We don't know for sure yet. Yeah, ever-changing field. So something to really keep an eye on as we go forward. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.